Alright, we should be live. Hey all, it's me and my grandfather here. We're about to make some apple cider. He's going to show us the process.
First thing is apples.
Yep, very necessary to have apples.
Next thing is the grinder. In order to press apples into cider, the apples have to be all ground up into like a mash, and that's what this device is. There's a wooden drum in there with screws that stick out so it catches on the apples when they drop into the hopper here, and they go down and they go into a plastic trough on the bottom, all ground up. This is and this device is to hold the apples from jumping around when the wheel is spinning. This was originally when I made this was a hand crank, and that got a little tiresome turning that crank, so I put a motor on it and to speed up the process. So I'll just flip on the switch and we'll start grinding apples. You can see stuff coming down inside.
Yep. Your bucket's almost full.
What's that?
So your bucket's almost full. And all these pieces here are homemade as well.
Okay, next step in the process is the mash from this tub goes into this slotted barrel. We have to put a piece of, this is polyester. It's actually just a polyester sheer curtain, which makes the best sifter to keep the pulp out of the cider. So this lines the that slotted wooden tub. And take the ground up apples. Now it takes 3 of these plastic tubs to fill the barrel.
Oh, jeez. Hey. Hey.
Oops.
I think your bucket's getting full. What? Your bucket's getting full again.
You've got mail.
These plates that I'm pulling out are just to keep the apple grinds from splaying out on the side of the tub. You can see down here that the cider is starting to run out of the barrel, and it goes into the, we have bowls on the other side where we'll run out that spigot into the bowls.
Oh, it looks like we lost connection there. It's good now. It was only down for a second, I think.
Now we have to fold this filter cloth over the top, getting ready to put the this pressing wheel, so just a big piece of plywood, goes in on top and fits in. If you can see the cider is coming out already with no pressing necessary right now because it's the weight of the apples are squeezing the juice out from the bottom. Now I'm going to move this up so I can center the barrel
Under the press.
Now we start to turn this screw. I don't know if you can see the thing coming down on the side.
Yep.
It's just starting to hit the top of that plate. The cider in these jugs can be put in the freezer and they don't explode or leak out, and it can be kept, I've kept it for 4 or 5 months frozen and then defrosted it, and it comes out tasting just as good as it did the day it was squeezed.
As far as the video quality is very good.
What?
The video quality
Is good or not good?
very good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. How many jugs does one barrel usually make?
It makes about 6 gallons.
Okay.
This turning the screw is fairly easy at the beginning. We're down about 1/3 of the way down into the barrel. So it's starting to get a little harder to turn. None of the apples that I usually use for making cider come from trees in a commercial orchard where they've been sprayed with chemicals. The chemical spray they use is to prevent when the buds start to turn pink on the apple tree. They spray them then, and that prevents some kind of bug from getting into the core of the flower and stopping the apple from forming. And then the next couple of sprays they do keep scabs from forming on the apples. With making cider, it doesn't make any difference whether there's scabs on the apples or not.
Right.
And with no pesticides or anything being sprayed on the apples, it seems much more organic, whether it is or not.
I imagine it will be. It's about as organic as it gets.
Yeah. It's been a strange year for apples. The place where I got these apples, the fellow has 3 apple trees that are all in a row, and there were lots of blossoms and small apples formed on all 3 trees this spring, and then on 2 trees all the blossoms and leaves fall off, and it looks like these 2 trees, 2 out of the 3 trees are completely dead.
Really?
And the 1 tree that's left has all the apples on it. And there's another fellow that has 1 apple tree in his backyard, but the tree had been grafted, so there's 2 species of apples growing on 1 tree. In order to pollinate apples and apple trees, you have to have 2 different species. A lot of orchards have crabapple trees in there planted among the orchard because they're very prolific for producing pollen to pollinate the regular apples, the full-size ones that you want to get for eating apples for pie or making cider. But this last year, that single tree was loaded with apples. This year, there are no apples at all on it. He had plenty of blossoms, but they just, for some reason, didn't get pollinated.
Wow. It's crazy how it changes that much year to year.
Yeah. There's at one of the parks in Leominster, they have trees that were actually planted by Johnny Appleseed, Jonathan Chapman, years ago, and they found these trees that they got cuttings off of and regrew new trees from the cuttings, came from Ohio. For some, I don't know how they knew that that particular tree was planted by John Chapman.
Yeah.
But there's 2 of those in Leominster, and I checked those trees out earlier, and one of them had a very small number of apples on it. Not enough to fill one of these tubs ground up. And the other one had more apples on it, but there still wasn't, a good number. So I don't know what the deal is with the apples, whether trees aren't producing. I mean, we haven't had any rain for the last couple of months, and that has a lot to do with the size of the apples.
Right.
The apple species that John Chapman planted was mainly for making cider, and it was mainly the colonists, because they didn't have good water, would use hard cider, because the hard cider would keep
Right.
without refrigeration. But those apples, the species is called a Rambo apple, and they're good for cider, but they're not good for cooking. I made apple crisp with the Rambo apples, and it had to cook for 3 times the amount of time in the oven to get those apples to soften up. They're hard as a rock. It's a pretty big size apple. And it had a lot of juice in it, but it just it was not good for cooking.
Yeah, wouldn't want to eat one of those either.
It tasted all right, but it was just very hard.
Yeah, well, just like eating it normally, like
yeah,
it'd be kind of rough. This is how much he's already filled all these bottles here. As I said, it makes about 6 gallons a barrel. And that's per, 1 barrel of this big slotted barrel here. And like he said, this will keep in the freezer. And it comes out just as fresh. Fancy contraption. It's all built handmade. So this is the press here. So it's just got this.
It's called an Acme screw. It's a very deeply fluted screw, and you can put a lot of pressure on here. When I first built this press, I had oak beams here. These are oak as well, but the ones I had were not as thick and beefy. And by putting too much pressure on here, I actually cracked both of the beams.
Oh wow!
So I had to replace them.
Okay.
And now the thing has extra pieces of iron up here on the top to help prevent that from happening. This is getting more difficult to squeeze down, but I found that you don't want to put a lot of pressure on there, you want to put pressure on it so the cider is being pressed out, and then let the apples get squashed down, and then you can turn it some more. You could probably run it down, but I don't want to take a chance of breaking this again.
Yeah, let it settle a little bit. And then the other piece here is the part that grinds up the apples. Just got a little motor here that runs on this band, and it turns the drum that's down in here below the press. Below that piece of wood, there's it's a drum with some screws in it, which you'll probably see that again. And it just kind of runs it along this wheel and grinds them up. And it shoots them right down below in this bucket.
Most of the information that I got off the internet when I first built this press, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, came from England. It seems though, I don't know whether the people in the United States don't make small presses and do stuff like that, but the English gardeners usually have 2 or 3 apple trees in their backyard, and they make a lot of cider,
right,
or enough for their own consumption. So all this information, the design of this grinder came from a fellow in England, and works very well.
Yeah, for sure.
I've often wondered how much pressure is on there.
Yeah.
But I really don't have any way of measuring it.
Yeah, true. It's got to be a lot, though.
Yeah, I would think there would be, if I put enough pressure on there to break those 2 oak beams, I would think it would be over 1,000 pounds of pressure on it.
Easily. If you guys have any questions to ask, too, then by all means.
A couple of years ago, we went to the Isle of Jersey in the English Channel, and during the 1700s, 80% of the crop that was grown on the Isle of Jersey was apples.
Really?
And it was all made into cider and shipped to England.
Oh, geez.
Most of it being hard cider. So there were some massive apple presses that we saw in reenacting villages they had there. But they had these big round grindstones that were on a shaft, and they'd have the stone was in a trough, and they'd have a horse hooked to the end of this beam, and the horse would walk around the trough and grind up all the apples, crush the apples, and then it would go into a big press.
If Angus was a little bit younger, then maybe that would work for you.
Yeah, we're not going to quite get 6 gallons out of this.
Okay.
I don't know whether the apples just have less juice in it, or it's going to be pretty close. When you hear this thing start to groan, that's when to stop.
Yeah.
Stop putting pressure on there. Gets a little testy. The screws that hold all these wooden staves on there came from Schaefer Stadium, where the Patriots first played.
Really?
Yeah, we did, the company I worked with did plastic recycling, and they changed all the stadium seats.
Oh, yeah.
And all the plastic seats and the seat part and the back part were all shipped to my company, and we took the took the screws out to get the mounting plates off of them. And being a Yankee, I had to squirrel away some of the screws.
Not a Yankees fan, but just someone from New England.
No. That's a definite.
Yeah.
Yankee as in thrifty Scotsman.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty close.
But if you ever get a chance to have a glass of fresh squeezed cider, jump right on it, because there's just a vast difference between fresh squeezed, which is not pasteurized, and that's the stuff you buy in the store, and there's just a vast difference in the taste. And it doesn't seem to make any difference on the taste by the species of apple that you make it out of.
Really?
It changes the color. Now these apples are producing a dark cider. That apple tree that didn't have any apples on it this year, usually I get 5 or 6 pressings off that one tree.
Oh, wow.
And that is a much clearer cider. It's more of a yellowy, transparent color.
What kind of apple is that usually comes off that one?
I really don't know what nobody knows what their species of their tree is.
Yeah.
For some reason. It's just the ones where I got these apples, the fellow just passed away a couple of weeks ago. He was 94, and he had planted those trees when he first got that property that he was on. And I got him was picking the apples yesterday with his son.
That's cool. Oh, looks like you pretty well got it.
Looks like we're gonna have to squeeze this a little more to get 6 gallons out of there. It's getting tight.
Yeah.
If you let it set, you'll probably get another glass of cider worth, another 10, 12 ounces out of it by keeping it under pressure. But the mash that's left over makes good chicken feed.
Yeah.
Or I brought it down to a farm and he fed it to his donkey, and the goats eat it.
That's actually cool. It's not going to waste or anything.
Yeah. I think this is just about done. There's a lot more coming out of there.
Yeah. Avery says the cider looks really good. Kind of makes him want to make some cider. You can buy a press on Amazon, or you can make them homemade.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 companies that make apple grinders. They have instead of having the grinder separate, a lot of them have the grinder mounted right up on top of the press.
Okay.
And they have 2 barrels, and it's on a sliding mechanism where you grind into one barrel while the other one is pressing.
Okay.
And so it's a little more efficient.
That's not fun.
We're not big on efficiency around here.
You wouldn't know where to begin to make one. I mean, it's all right here. I said every single piece here is all homemade.
Hello. Very good.
Yes, this is going pretty well. Yes.
Okay, can I call you back in a few minutes? Okay. Now we're going to release the pressure on this barrel.
Evacuate. Because the alarm on your phone.
Oh,
Yeah, they're saying evacuate. Alright, so now he's going to get the stuff that he was saying that that they feed to the chickens and the donkey and all that. All the stuff left at the bottom of the barrel after everything's pressed out.
You have to get this centered just right over this bucket, and you can push the mash out.
And because of the sheet beneath, there's no leakage coming out into the floor.
You see this? Nice solid block of apple.
Nice.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing us that.
Oh, that's fun to do.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do it again.
Yeah.
The cleanup is the pain in the ass about this thing.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Because all this stuff has to be washed down.
Yeah. You want a hand?
Let's see, everything in there. Cider juice to lubricate the shaft.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make that awful noise.
Well, once they're in there, it's pretty silent.
What's that?
It's pretty quiet once they're in there.
Yeah. When I first had the electric motor hooked up to this, I turned it on and apples were spraying out from underneath
Oh,
it.
jeez.
I had a slice of apple across my hands. I was wondering if I could mount a hopper on the top of here and just dump the apples in instead of
Oh, yeah.
pulling it in at a time. On those ramble apples, if you put 2 apples in there and push down on it, it would stop the thing from turning.
Really?
It was so hard.
Oh, jeez.
So you had to be a little more delicate on pushing down on this thing.
Yeah.
When I first made this, I didn't have this device on there. And, I just had a bunch of apples on the top, and that stopped me from jumping around. But
Yeah.
when the ones on the bottom ground, then the ones on the top started
gee.
flying around.
Projectiles.
And also I had a friend of Dorothy's brought the little kids over to see what was going on. And they were loading apples in here. And one of them reached to push the apple down.
Oh, jeez.
Fortunately, I was right there to stop him.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that by hand.
Well, I think if you get your hand caught in there, it wouldn't be too bad.
It wouldn't make good cider.
Little kids start to cry and whine when they get their hand.
Yeah. End up with some human cider. Yeah, I don't think you want that.
What's that?
He said you'd end up with some human cider. Not quite as good.
Ruby red cider.
Yeah, it's how you get the red color.
Yeah.
You can't buy that in store.
You hope it doesn't come.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah, this was using this polyester curtain. Came from the English people. And they said it's the best thing. You can buy bags, special filter bags, but the best thing about this is you just throw them in the washing machine and they get washed out nice.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you had to buy fresh ones every time, or if you could wash them.
No, we wash these. They go through the washing.
Okay,
Come out clean.
that's weird. Like when you, yeah, my dad said like when I got my hand caught in the vacuum when I was little.
Shouldn't do that. Oh, is he on there too?
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
He's watching while he's working.
I was just going to say there's a... I don't know where it is. When I was doing this the first year, I put the filter cloth was not folded over right, so there was a piece hanging out over the top of the disc, and as I was turning this piece of filter cloth blew up like a bubble.
Oh, geez.
And it was being forced, cider was being, and apple grindings was being forced into this bubble of the filter cloth. And all of a sudden, it came to the end of the cloth, and boom! There used to be a mark of apple on the wall.
Oh, jeez.
It came out with quite a bit of force.
Yeah. Cider bomb. Pretty much. All right, so now there's one bin worth of apples in there, all ground up. And like he was saying before, it takes 3 to fill up this barrel. And that makes 6 gallons. So it actually doesn't take that much to make a fair bit. It would probably be a large bag from the grocery store worth. Maybe 2. Those totes are perfect for that too.
What's that?
The totes are perfect for that too.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes about, I think that's a little under 2 bushels to make 6 gallons.
Okay. That's not bad.
rest of this in there.
Just need to go up a little bit more.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh, geez. That one filled up pretty quickly. These ones are the juicy ones.
Hello? Hello?
Jeez, there you go. So the press is only down about a quarter of the way down the barrel, and it's coming out like a faucet. Oh.
think we're gonna get more out of this one.
Oh yeah?
This thing was really full. I may have to go down to the cellar and get more bottles.
Yeah, these ones seem to put out a lot.
Huh?
These ones seem to put out a lot.
Yeah.
How far down are we? We're almost done. A little over
Got
halfway.
another couple inches to go.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of suds in it.
Yeah. Just a few. Still going.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I'm making brownies.
Yeah.
Looks like we'll get about more than 12 gallons.
Really?
Yeah.
Very good. Considering it was a bad apple season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think because of the lack of rain, there's not as much juice in the apples. Plus, they weren't anywhere near as big as
No, really.
they normally get too.
But it's still, it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, we got 6 gallons from the first batch and 6 gallons from this.
Yeah.
That will keep us through wassailing.
You think? I don't know, will it?
Probably.
It's
Maybe.
only 2 months away.
Only 2 months away. Yeah.
Getting there
Good-
quick.
It's good stuff.
Hey.
Yeah.
Rich, need more bottles?
Oh yeah. Good call.
You will get out of the road now.
Yeah, I probably won't get too many more, but
Next up, please.
yeah, we got a little bit further to go. Looks like.
Yeah, I only take a couple more. We got 1.5 more to feed.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna.
Probably one more would be enough, maybe.
I'm hard to push now. I don't
You
know
think?
whether filling it up that full makes it harder to press. I kind of think it might. So I tried, the last time I pressed them the other day, I only did 2 tubs. And it didn't seem like it made a heck of a lot of difference.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the Angus emote is done.
Yeah.
Well, we got 12 there now. 6 gallons.
That's perfect.
This is getting.
Yeah, it's starting to get angry a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get a hell of a lot more. I don't think we're going to get a lot more out of there now. everything was made from stuff I had, or except for the screw and this thing. A friend of mine gave them those 2 pieces, but everything else was stuff I had.
Yeah. It doesn't get better than that. And
That's awesome.
it gives it more value too.
Even these bolts, we did a grinding job for a company that made wire reels,
Okay.
and the bolts came out of the reels.
Oh wow. They're good quality bolts too.
So no wallet was damaged.
Hear that, Avery? If you got a whole bunch of wooden bolts and stuff, you might be able to make one. If you can find the screw.
Yeah, that's the hard part. There's a lot of them in England just use a car jack, you know, the coordinated scissor jack,
Yep.
and they'll a lot of them don't have a barrel. They just have a wooden plate with a trough on it, like similar to the plastic one I had. And they just fold over and they make these pads about this square.
Okay.
They put a board on top and put the jack on it. And they have a yoke like that, so they can put the top of the jack against there. And they
Yeah.
jack it down. And it, it works the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like the old style.
No. Yeah.
Apple press. Cider press.
No, but it would work for sure.
Yeah, I think there's 2 of them on Craigslist now that are for sale.
Yeah.
Grinders and presses, commercially made ones
Right.
that are old ones, antique ones. But they're selling for $600-700.
Oh, jeez.
You can buy a new one.
Yeah, for probably less than that. Yeah.
I think they're around $500 for one with electric grinder
In the press.
and in the press.
That's not too bad altogether. If you were buying new.
If you're buying the apples, though, that's where it gets pricey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I brought the grinder and the apple press up to the church when they had the church fair.
Yeah.
And the church was able to get from the city-owned orchard a 4x4 tub of apples.
Oh wow.
So, but those were sprayed, so they all had to be washed.
Ah. Yeah.
So I had to figure, how am I going to wash these? So I dumped the box onto my big trailer and, had it tilted toward the toe. And then I put these 4 totes underneath the back end of it. And I used my power washer and I just turned the crank up a little so it was just a little negative. And just by hitting them with the power washer, they were rolling back and forth, washing themselves off as the bed of the trailer is grooved.
Right.
So they bounced all around. And that did a good job of washing them.
Oh, that's cool. Inventful way of washing them.
Yeah, I went to Carlson's orchard in Stowe, and they take those big 4x4 tubs, and they've got a metal tub full of water, and they lower this down, and apples float.
Yeah.
So they float out the top, and they, kind of push them along with a paddle.
Yep.
And they go down a trough. It's a conveyor, and there's water jets spraying on them. And they, they roll over and over, so the water jets spray them off.
Oh, that's pretty cool too.
One more crank.
Yep.
Barely a dribble. It's just dripping now.
Yeah.
I think we're at the end.
Tilt it.
Yeah. Just enough.
Yeah, the perfect amount.
That was Jean that called me earlier. I gotta call her back.
Okay. Yep.
I gotta wash before I use my phone.
There we go. All right. Well, that's how you make apple cider. You know, when he comes back out, you know, I'll thank him again for showing us how to do all this. You know, like I said, this is just really cool because he made every single piece here. He made the, you know, the press, like he said. You know, he even reinforced it with some steel after the beams broke before. You know, he's got this big screw. You know, slotted barrel. Like I said, all stuff he made himself. Like the screws in there came from the seats at the old Patriot Stadium. You know, from you know, where he worked at his own plastics company for a long time, and then, you know, made together the grinder there, and, you know, it's got this, you know, cool little press that presses the apples down into the you know, the drum that's got all these bolts, and it's run by a motor with a band, and you know, it's all just really cool that you know, just finds these apples around town and you know, just kind of makes you know, all this cider. You know, look how much you made there. You made 12 bottles. It's all just, you know, it's all just really cool that you know, it's made right here, right? You know, it's as organic as it gets too. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, you know, what it is. You know, we'll probably end the stream here in just a second, and you know, thanks to my mom, you know, behind the camera right now for you know, taking over the last little bit here, and yeah. So tomorrow we should be back to the kind of regularly scheduled programming, you know, playing World of Warcraft. We're going to be doing the honor grind again, farming BGs in the Brawl, trying to get honor level 100, get the Unstoppable Force title before Shadowlands, which is delayed.
Okay.
And yeah, that's kind of the plan. So thanks all for coming out and watching. Hope you guys had a good time, and you know, we did too.
Ren says, I'll be waiting for my cider in the mail, Danny. Haha.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure the Canadian government would enjoy a bottle looking like that coming over the border. But, you know, if I could, you might have to just come down and try it in person. It's Avery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Erin comes down, maybe we can send some back over with her when she goes back.
If you want Erin to be stopped at the border and maybe deported.
Yeah, I do. I want her to stay down here.
Yeah. Yeah. Or she won't be able to come back. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much again, like I said, for coming out, and you know, hope you had a good time. And you know, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning. All right. Thanks. All right. And all right, take care, guys.